Hi everyone. Today on this session we will discuss mobile strategies for Salesforce projects. So we will discuss what is mobile strategy, why do you need it, and some typical questions, some typical points you should come through while creating your mobile strategy. My name is Daryna. I am Salesforce Mobile Architect in Customertimes. And as Salesforce Mobile Architect, my responsibility basically to help build Salesforce architecture that is comparable with mobile apps, help to select technologies for the mobile, and help to create some layers, some high-level architecture for mobile apps. And of course, sometimes I feeling like my main responsibility is to help mobile and Salesforce team to understand each other and to communicate with each other, because it is different worlds. They both are beautiful, but they're really different. So why do you need mobile strategy? Mobile strategy allow you to build the core for your mobile architecture. It allows you to understand your customer expectations and manage your customer expectations. So you will create something that will be good for customers, that will be enough for customer, and that will be done in normal terms, right? Because we all, at least we all developers, like to create ideal solutions for years, and it's not what our customer need. And mobile strategy will help you to create something that will be good for everyone, if it is correct, of course. So what is the parts of your mobile strategy for Salesforce projects? First of all, you need to define the technology you will use to create your mobile apps. It can be native technology that are beauty but expensive sometimes. I mean, if you have a few apps for different operation systems. It can be some hybrid technology. It can be some remote hybrid technology when your solution is basically located fully in Salesforce and you just have access to it from mobile app and so on. Then it's a select strategy for multi-country solution. If your client have similar functionality for different countries, should we go with one app or with a few apps and so on. Is to define sync layers. It's something that will be used to synchronize data between mobile and Salesforce. Is to select if we'll go with standard SDK or with custom SDK, and how we should build the layer between business logic and the SDK and so on. Is to define modular design. It's important to separate models from each other. What is basically a model, right? The synchronization part itself is also model. Model is a part of functionality. If you have, for example, order taking, it's model. If you have, for example, multi-country solution, for one country you will have order taking, for other you won't, right? And if you have a clean model separation, it will be much easier to turn it on and off, and it will be much easier to develop the app without regressions, right? The cleaner you have model separation, the easier for you will be to speed up in your development also. It, of course, define mobile release strategy. Mobile release strategy is two at once. It's how to it's your Git flow, your mobile Git flow, and how it is aligned with Salesforce Git flow. It's easier than Salesforce DX or Kapada or whatever, but anyway, it's important. And of course, it's how to release the app to the end user. And two more points that are not a part of our today discussion, but they're a part of Salesforce mobile strategy. As to define additional services, for example, for push notifications, because Salesforce itself have possibility for push notifications and have limitations, right? Sometimes you can go just with Salesforce, sometimes you need Firebase and so on. And clarify where your users will be located. It will be platform, community, Heroku. It could be different for B2C, B2B, and so on. and of course licenses. If you have mobile, you get additional parameter for your license choice table because you have API calls and you need to calculate them. And also I would like to add that today we will be focusing only for iOS on iOS and Android apps, because basically Salesforce SDK, standard Salesforce SDK, is provided for iOS and Android. And in common, I think the mobile strategy, for example, for Windows, it's the tasks for additional session, but not today. We have really limited time. So, how to start your mobile strategy? What questions you should ask to a client? First of all, is the solution B2B or B2C? It is the base for everything, usually not only for mobile. What operations systems is expected for V1 and later? And it's mostly question for B2B. I haven't faced yet B2C solution for Salesforce when it was only one platform for a long time. Usually client is trying to cover different operation system, but for B2B it's different because maybe client don't buy devices for his user yet and he's flexible what to buy, or maybe he already bought and all of them, for example iPads, then he don't need an Android now, and so on. Is it single country solution or it is template from future multi-country solution? Also important question, because if we're talking about the template for multi-country solution, it should be flexible, really flexible, absolutely flexible, right? Because you will need to turn on and off different possibilities. Of course, you should ask what is the expected difference between business processes in different countries, but for big companies, for big solutions, you might get an answer that the difference is 10%, and then it might be bigger, maybe not, but you should be ready for it, right? And which countries should we start from? This question is connected with the next one also. What languages do we expect? And it's important because we have languages, right, from left to right and from right to left, and the full app UI is usually mirrored depending on the language. And if you start from the version for a few countries that have different mirroring, it will influence on the terms and on the UI complexity. Will the app work with sensitive data? It's important for farm solution, especially B2C. Pharma solution, when app can have client medical data, and the security is really important. What level of offline we expect? I don't think that we even need additional explanations. Its influence on technology choice and maybe the most. Do you already have UI and UX requirement, and how important for customer to have everything absolutely like on the requirements, or customer is flexible enough? Also important, especially for pixel perfect solutions, that is not easy to get with some hybrid technology. I will discuss it later in more details. And any additional features, push notification, locals, wherever that can influence. What should we do with it? We need to start from selecting technology. Here we have 5 options. Of course, it is not all options that exist in the world. I have listed options that basically can be combined with standard Salesforce SDK and Salesforce product, the Salesforce app, right? Maybe some other options can be combined with Salesforce SDK. Maybe you wanted to develop something without Salesforce SDK. It's okay. Now I'm just trying to show you how to work with it, and you can add more options in the way you would like to. So Salesforce app, it's important thing, really, it's really good thing. In my past I haven't paid enough attention for it, and now I understand it's really good option, because basically it's something from the box. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to release anything. You just configure it on Salesforce. You can use from box configuration or create custom pages, and you already have it, right? When it is recommended to use it, offline mode is limited, especially for custom Salesforce page you will create, because if you add some tab with custom, for example, I don't know, lighting component, it will be online only. App don't require branding. It's branding, and it's also a login page. If you want, it's public available app, right? You can download it, and you will get to standard login Salesforce.com. You will have standard logo, not something branded for your company, not something that started from custom domain and your SSO and so on. And it's great for MVP and solutions with limited time, and it's great for small and medium solutions that can be covered by Salesforce standard with minimum customizations. Remote hybrid. Well, remote hybrid is something like you have a browser in your mobile app. You have branded logo, you have web browser, you have hours, so you don't have to log in every time when you open it. You log in once. You can log in via SSO, no problems, but everything will be online only. It will be online only with possibility to call some standard APIs like access to camera, access to push notification, and so on. And it's good for fully online app. It's good for cheap solutions, for quick solutions, maybe for some demos. Basically, selecting between remote, hybrid, and Salesforce app, look on branding and offline possibility. Local hybrid, it's when you have also web container, but all its code is located on your project, not on Salesforce here in your project offline. It can have offline, but of course it's web container, and it influences to the productivity and to the UI. So it's better for small medium apps and prototypes, and the credo is write once, run anywhere, right? It's more about reusing web apps on the mobile. React Native is something in the middle of a local hybrid and native. Basically, it's many people think that React Native is something like local hybrid. You write once and use on both iOS and Android, but it's not so, because some parts need to be writing different for iOS and Android. It also support offline. It's might look better than local hybrid, but it's still it's more about saving time and having still less productivity and less beautiful UI comparing with native. And native, well, native is really good. It's expensive if you need 2 apps, and it's really good. And when, from my opinion, it's better to use native. It's first of all, if you have one platform and Salesforce app is not enough for you, go with native. There is no reason to use any hybrid technology, except maybe remote hybrids in some situation, but local hybrid and React Native is useful only if you have a few platforms. If you have one, go with native. And then it's really good for big complex projects, enterprise big projects, something really with pixel perfect UI, with a lot of possibility, with a lot of calculation offline and so on. So we have options, we have answers. What then? We need to compare different parameters, right? You can build your own comparison tables. The sales on these tables depends on your client's need. Here's an example of clients who already have B2B local hybrid solution and have a lot of issues, and this client was ready to review the mobile strategy. And they have only iOS devices, right? They was not expected to have Android, and it's B2B, so it's not so rarely situation when B2B using only one platform. iOS and Android, it depends, but only one. And offline was absolutely required. This basically remote hybrid is a part of the calculation, but basically we don't need it here. UI was complex, not critical, but not absolutely pixel perfect, but complex. No sensitive data, and so on. And that's why we compare, for example, implementation for iOS time, and actually just for iOS they don't win anything by going with hybrid. So for this client we recommended to go with native iOS. It is the other example, and here we have a small client who already have a few mobile solutions on the same org. Some of them was local hybrid, and also they have Salesforce app. They needed iOS and Android. They don't need it offline. They have really strict terms, and they was really flexible about UI UX. So for them we go with Salesforce app, because again, if Salesforce app cover everything, why do you need to create something custom? You just don't need it. And the other case is pharma company, and it's B2C app with sensitive data, and it's global template. And it was this pixel perfect solution. When it was really important to do everything absolutely like on the UI, it was critical. And some part of the app was offline. It was required to have them offline, and some could be online. And it's a long comparison tables with different parameters. For them, we even compare the app size, as I remembered, because they worried, so it is B2C, user will delete it if it will be too big, and so on. And for them we go with mix of native and remote hybrid, and we'll review it in more details later. The next important point is layers. It's important for understanding the SDK choice and understanding single app solutions or multi-app solutions, and so on. I want you to take a look on the bottom of this pyramid, and here you can see Salesforce SDK. It could be standard or custom SDK, and then you can see synchronization layer. So basically, what is it? Wherever you go with custom or standard SDK, it's just an instrument that will allow you to communicate with local database, communicate with Salesforce, and it will use its own abstract objects. But if you wanted to make your business logic stable, if you wanted to avoid to minimize the risk from SDK choice, you should have sync layer. Sync layer is a level of abstraction that separates your business logic from Salesforce SDK. It's just a set of interfaces, set of protocols that will allow your business logic communicate with local database, communicate with Salesforce without being depending on Salesforce SDK. And you can go, for example, with standard SDK, then change it to custom, or you can go with standard and update version, or you can go with I don't know, custom and update version, whatever. You change it, you adopt sync layer, and you don't need to do any global regression. Okay, some you need to do, but you don't need to do any changes in your business logic code. So it's extremely important, and it's not often done. So that's why I'm talking about it now. And then we have layers. We have core. Core is some reusable components in your code, and we have different modules with dependency from each other that basically allow us to develop and manage them easily. Let's go ahead. So SDK choice. If I will go in details in all Salesforce SDK pluses and minuses, it will be maybe more than one additional session. So I will do it high level. And what Salesforce SDK gives you? you should understand the Salesforce SDK is just the instrument. The instrument that will allow you to work to manage hours flow. Basically, Salesforce SDK manage hours flow, and the instrument that will help you to communicate with local database, that will give you secured local database, that will help you to communicate with Salesforce. But it's not product. It's open source library, and if it will be good or bad, resultative or not, fully depends on how you're using it. And you can build, for example, queries hard-coded via Salesforce SDK, or you can build them dynamic based on some work conditions. You can get these work conditions from Salesforce and so on, right? From my experience, it's just my experience, when it's better to use Salesforce SDK. It's MVP and small medium solutions. It's really great for start. It's solutions with limited offline or simple data model. Why limited offline? It supports offline fully, no problems. But if you have to synchronize really complex data model with complex dependencies, you will need to write a lot of code under Salesforce SDK, right? You can use it, but you will have a lot of custom. And in these cases, you really need to do the choice and calculate if it is resultative to build it under Salesforce SDK, or it is resultative to go with custom, right? It's also good for single country solutions and solutions with stable data model. Again, plus minus stable data model, and this ideal. And it is good for sensitive data. It's provide you absolutely secure offline storage. When you should look at your open custom SDK, it is big solutions. It is big flexible solutions. It's multi-country solutions with complex data model. It's solutions where data model is changing really often. And it is, of course, products, right? Why products? Because if you build really flexible product, by flexible I mean the database built dynamically, the requests to Salesforce build dynamically. We have a lot of offline features like formulas, rollout, we build the layout based on Salesforce configuration and so on. And you will have to create up to 80% of custom under Salesforce SDK. And if it is your product and you anyway have to create 80% of custom, you should be really careful and analyze if it will be resultative for you to spend time for switching to new SDK versions just for this 20%. It's up to you. It's just my experience. But again, do not start from custom SDK if you're not building a product. Even if you're building a product, start from standard, build something and switch if you don't have budget for a few years. Be careful with it. Because I saw a situation when people spent on hackathon a half of night for building house flow, and when I asked it why you don't go with standard SDK, they cannot answer, or they just didn't thought about it. So thought about it, please. The next slide shows how you can combine native and remote hybrid. Actually, it could be native, can be React Native, can be local hybrid plus remote hybrid. So what do we have here? In this situation, we have sync layer. We have Salesforce SDK, as we discussed. We have some native business logic. And it was the case when we need to create self-registration to community. And basically, SDK provide our flow, and we rewrite the start page for the community, the login page for the community, and we add self-registration for it. So when user opens up, it was our flow started, and it was like community login page in web container, and it was basically self-registration that was located fully in Salesforce. Also, we have some models like profile, where user can edit some personal data, and we use it remote hybrid. So we just put a web container in some section of the app and open predefined Salesforce pages. Actually, I don't remember, it was Aura or LVC, but it was Salesforce pages there. And native can communicate with what's going on inside web container even without adding some specific technology. For native development, there are enough libraries for JavaScript bridge, or even you can write code by your own. It's simple to get some messages from the web container and do some actions and to send messages to it. Not something really complex, but for example, if we need to open camera, or we have even easier situation, we need to reload some data, we can do it. So, and it allows us to use this remote hybrid part, the Salesforce pages, inside native part. And the pluses is that in this case we have iOS and Android, and the Salesforce part, they was reusable. The next slide, I would like to review with you some real situation, or not real, or something close to them, but something you can face in real life, and how I would recommend to do or not to do. And I would say I'm not like someone who know everything. Of course, maybe you have other opinion, you have other experience. It's absolutely okay. I'm ready to discuss it. And maybe you have some cases when it's better, but always document it enough when someone like me will come and ask a lot of questions. So, first situation, we have Salesforce and mobile. We don't have any additional instances. We have single Salesforce org or mutable Salesforce org plus managed package. So mobile app, maybe it's communicated always with one Salesforce org, maybe it's basically connected with functionality in managed package. App supports login to single org, to one org, and requirement might include supporting existing client data model and configuration for map it with some business model. What do I mean? For example, you have, I don't know, product and some abstract business objects product, and for each client who will use this managed package, client can configure which object should be used as product in this business model. And in this case, I would recommend you to connect your mobile app with Salesforce directly. Do not use any additional layers, even services created in Salesforce. Why? First of all, Salesforce already have IPs, REST, IP, tooling IP, and so on, and it gives you all you need, really. And if you will use some custom service, you will block yourself from using standard Salesforce SDK. Maybe you need it, maybe not, but think twice. Then, the more participants you have in this project, in this architecture, the more is complexity and the more risk of bugs. And you should understand the mobile users, how mobile users thinking. They don't think it's a bug on layer. No, they think it's a bug on mobile, always. And you will spend much more time trying to find where is this bug, really. So do not complicate when it is not needed, and trust your mobile technology. Really, if you have correct sync layer and you need for different clients based on configuration use different object as product, it's not a problem to implement it on mobile. I did it a million times. So it's possible, and do not complicate, do not create additional layers where it is not needed. The next situation is more complex. Let's imagine we have SAP that is used as master data system for accounts and products, and we have integration between Salesforce and IP via some integration layer maybe, and we have order taking on mobile, and mobile should should support order taking offline together with calculating sub discounts and so on. And some orders are connected with accounts, and actually account information can influence to order, right? And account can be changed on the device. These changes go through Salesforce and then to SAP and so on. And at the end, when user finalize the order on the device, it goes to SAP. I would like to ask you, do not use in this situation direct connection between mobile and SAP. Well, the conditions sound complex, and but it's something that I face quite often. Try to have single data source for mobile app. First of all, you won't spend additional time for additional sync layer, right? Then you will have clean local database architecture. If you have one backend, you have like it's copying local database and it's clean. If you have two backends, and it's a trash really. Then you can have conflicts between data synchronized on different times. You got an account from Salesforce. This time it was changed in SAP for some reason, and you're trying to send it as an order to SAP directly, but this account is changed or not exist or deactivated. It's a nightmare. Responsibility management. Or if you don't have direct connection, in this case between mobile and SAP, you understand. If you have bug on mobile, okay, you check, it's not on mobile, it comes from Salesforce, it's go to Salesforce team, right? And you can go one by one. If you don't understand where it came from, it's really hard to understand who is responsible. More people in your team spend time for it, and it will be more effort and more complex. And we can expect more bugs, longer time for error catching, and so on. And of course, release management, because if you have some changes in SAP, you adapt Salesforce and you don't need to do additional release on mobile. If you have two integrations, it's a different situation, because in this situation you will need to do additional release on mobile to adapt also to changes in SAP, and additional release on mobile, it's time. It can take up to a week if you're using, for example, App Store and so on. And of course, do not spend time for additional licenses for SAP, and do not make your authentication too complex. Even if you have SSO, you increase the complexity really. And the next slide just show you that do not complicate at the same time. Here, if you have app that get some visits, custom visits from Salesforce, and based on their accounts need to build route, we can use Google direction IP directly from the mobile app. We don't need to do something through the Salesforce, of course, when it is not needed. The only thing that I will recommend you in this case is to store Google Map direction IP in Salesforce. Do not hard code it on mobile app. The next one is example when client with single Salesforce org have multi-country solutions, and the difference between country is not so big. They have some core template, and each country have individual models and small difference between shared models. I would recommend you to go with single app. Actually, why? Single sync layer. So you simplify synchronization support. It's really important. You can share features from core. Clean models architecture will allow you to turn on and off models for country where they don't need it, and you always can create some additional configuration to turn on and off single features. But at the same time, you simplify adoption for Salesforce changes. You do them once, not in all apps, right? You simplify the release manager. You have the management. You have the only one app, and of course, you minimize number of bugs. And the next example, quite similar, but with some difference. If your client have more than one, I would say, not just multi-country solution, but different solutions for different affiliates without shared part, really. You can go with single app, just turn on and off a big parts, or you can go with different apps, but I would recommend you to use for some of them Salesforce app if it is possible, and for others, if you create some custom, try to have shared sync part and try to do them in the same technology plus minus so they can have shared sync part. I have an experience when we have a product and it was used as accelerator and it was copied to each project. It was a long time ago, and as a result their bug was they was immortal. We killed them in one project and there appears in other. The same thing will happen if you will have separated bugs. You will catch some sync error in one and it will appear in another. So what can be reused between different apps for one customer is better reuse. Okay, and the next slide basically is connected with communications between mobile team and Salesforce team. So it's about the expectations and how it look like. So we expect that mobile Salesforce team will understand each other perfectly. They will use the same language, but as you can see on the slide, it's how it's usually happened, right? In this example on the slide we see that mobile team got some error and they don't understand that it is like sharing. It's also not sharing but field level security, and Salesforce team checked in as a user with the same profile and it was okay, and it's a real situation. When they come to me, they was arguing maybe about one day and we spent just 10 minutes that understands that it was just permission set that was not assigned. So how to avoid the situation, but at least not avoid but to minimize them, to make both your mobile and Salesforce team life better? First of all, do not expect that your mobile team already knows Salesforce or have experience with CRM, really. So in most of the cases they don't. And in many cases they don't have experience with CRM. So do not expect that they understand that there are some, I don't know, access to fields that are different for user, access to records, how it's configured, and so on. Teach your team. If you're building a product, try to teach your team, try to find time for it, try to develop your own separated study programs. Trailheads are good, but trailheads, it's if someone new will come to your product and you tell him, okay, you spend this week by coming through Salesforce trailhead, it could be confusing. Start from simple things that are important certainly for mobile team, and if some one of them will become interesting, they will go deeper. First of all, clarify for them that basically Salesforce data structure it's similar to just database structure, right? So the as objects is objects, record type is objects, custom metadata type is objects, custom setting is objects. They all are just objects in database, right? And you can communicate with them via REST API, via SOAP API, and work with them as with objects. Give your mobile team understanding what kind of fields exists, right? And it's pick list, it's multi-pick list, it's like text but with possibility choice. It's clear, yeah. Give them basic understanding of field level security and sharing, but do not give them, okay, it could be shared via profile, could be this object can be opened via profile, via permission set, it is sharing rule, it's custom code sharing. No, they don't need it. They need to understand. Some users can have access, some users don't have access. Start from simple thing. Do not complicate with triggers and automatic processes. So they should understand that when objects, for example, inserted, updated, or whatever, something can happen in Salesforce. But it's not mobile team problem what happened. Share useful utils like Workbench. I was surprised when, like in the middle of the project, mobile teams never sync Workbench, and they cannot even test their requests directly to the IP to check if it's problem in their code or in the requests. It's important, right? Be ready. 25% of your mobile team don't want to know anything about Salesforce, and it's okay. Absolutely. Just it should not be the lead of your mobile team, but do not expect that everyone would like it. If you have good lead, he will give these people tasks that maximum separated from some Salesforce specific things. If you don't have anyone with knowledge of both Salesforce and mobile, at least allocate strong Salesforce consultant to help your mobile team, because if you have like junior from both sides, it's a problem. From my experience, I have started working with Salesforce on the first project when it was junior consultant, and he say me, it's your error, not error in the pick list values. And maybe on the second or third week of working there, I was going and trying to understand how to configure pick list dependency. But most of the development just won't do it, and they will stuck. So allocate strong consultant who will know that for metadata type you need to give access as same as for usual object. Build the Salesforce architecture according to mobile limitations. You might have share model that allow some, I don't know, regional managers see thousands of records, and it's okay. But you should understand that you won't be able to sync them also on the device. So while you're starting to develop your mobile app, communicate with your mobile team how they should limit this request, if they should put some where conditions on code, or they should take them dynamically from somewhere, and so on. Take your offline possibilities into account. For example, if you have some logic that create records, when some record changes, they are created, I don't know, and it is supported offline, taking into account, do not duplicate it on the Salesforce, and define translation source from at the beginning. So if it will be translated via custom label, or it will be translated in mobile code, define it in the beginning and take discuss it with the mobile team, right? From where they should take this translation. They don't think, maybe they do, but in many cases they don't think that they should take it from Salesforce. They will put this translation locally. And the last but not the least is mobile release strategy. So we don't have a lot of time, so I will go through it quick enough. First of all, you need to understand how your client is expect to do it. You need to define Git flow, you need to define Git owner. It's also, I think, a big task for a separated session. And also you need to understand how you will release the app to the end user. So you need to define if it is B2B or B2C solution. You already know it. And if it is B2B solution, you need to define if your client have mobile device management system and how it is configurable, and how your client expects the app get to mobile device management system. So in some cases you just put it in some Git branch, your client will get it. In some cases you give the test repository, your client will create the build, but in some cases you should do it by yourself. And for B2C you should understand if it should be public available. So what options we actually have for which kind of solution, and what we should take into account. For B2B solutions, we have options for iOS apps to develop them via in-house Apple developer program or ad hoc. Via in-house, we actually it's actually an in-house program owner by client, and then the app should be should be signed by this program. And for ad hoc, basically it's when client signed VPP with Apple, you can use your developer program to share this build. And for Android app, it's much easier. You can publish it via private apps, and you can actually upload the APK file directly to the MDM system. It's like the same as for in-house for Apple, but for Android. One more thing that you always should take into account is to preparation of the Salesforce org. So if you go via public App Store and Google Play, you will have to prepare credentials for vendor check, and it also requires some time, and you need to plan this time. So if someone will need, I will share this detail. Now I think I'm out of time, and I really thank you, and you can contact me in case of any questions.